So this is our second of these workshops, so probably why we got a smaller group today. We did this workshop last week as well, but we thought we'd have two different dates and times just in case people couldn't make the first one. So it looks like much smaller and interactive today. So I guess we'll go ahead and jump in. Everybody should be able to see my screen with the title slide, zero in on your customers. So I'm just going to kick things off with a little bit of information about what to expect in this workshop, and then we'll dive right in. And as Ingrid said, there's going to be an actual live brand storyboard taking place in the second half, and then some free giveaways at the end. So stick around for that. So just real quick, first of all, who is Dennis and who is Ingrid? So a little bit about us. So I'm Dennis Geelen, founder of consulting company Zero In. I work with mostly medium-sized businesses on their strategy and more specifically in the areas of customer experience and innovation. How do you design that ultimate experience for your ideal customer? And then how do you create that culture of innovation so that you've really set your company up for success, finding new and better ways of serving your customers down the road. Last year during COVID, a lot of my consulting work got put on pause as companies were trying to figure out what does this pandemic mean. So that's where I took the time to finish my manuscript for my book, The Zero In Formula. And luckily it was well received and actually hit #1 bestseller in 3 different countries, and Canada, Australia, UK, and #2 in the US. So that was quite exciting for me, and still kind of riding the wave from that. So that's it. I'm in Ontario, Canada. So same country as Dan, just several provinces over. That's it for me. I'll let Ingrid introduce herself.
Yeah, so my name is Ingrid. I'm originally German, have been living in Denmark for about 20 years now. And I have reinvented my job like 2 years ago from visual communication and graphic design to brand strategy, business coaching. It's from a communication angle that I'm approaching the whole thing here. Where I have an overlap with Dennis is the customer centricity. So in my process, is it where I help, it's coaches, consultants, it's big thinkers, it's people with complex ideas to explain their ideas so their customers understand it. And for that, I have developed a process that I guess it's called graphic facilitation. That means I draw the whole brand story or the messaging story, the communication. I do that mostly on Zoom. I started doing it before the pandemic came, and I was happy that I was working mostly online anyway.
You were ahead of the curve.
Yeah. So I'm from Denmark, and luckily our colors, the flag colors match. So
there you go, red and white. Excellent. So what can you expect in this next hour? We're going to be going through a few different things. One, why is indifference the #1 killer for all businesses? What does that mean? And why is it such a big problem? What are the 4 different levels of customer engagement and loyalty? And how do you move between those? And then we're going to talk about, well, there's 4 different ways that you can zero in on your customers and get to know them better and understand them better and design your business to better serve them. And then we're going to actually look at one of those ways live. And that will be Ingrid doing that live brand storyboard where you're making your customer the hero. And then to top it off at the end, like we said, we have some free giveaways for anybody that attends. So stay tuned for that. So let's dive right in. I want to make sure Ingrid has lots of time to do her brand storyboard. So off the top, the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. If you think about love as a very strong, positive emotion, a lot of people will think, well, then the opposite of that is hate. It's a very strong, negative emotion. But I would argue that the opposite is when there's no emotion at all. There's just no tie between you and that other thing. You're just completely indifferent. And this, I believe, is the biggest challenge that all businesses need to be focused on, is indifference, because it shows up in two different ways. You can have indifferent customers. So now external to your business, people just, they don't have any strong affiliation with you and your company or your brand or your products or your services. You just blend in. And that is a terrible place to be in. If you're just one of many options out there for customers to choose from, and there's no compelling reason for them to choose you, there's nothing that really resonates with you and your products and your services, what you really have are indifferent customers. And a lot of companies find themselves in this space where they're just one of several options. And then to win those customers, they start to compete on price. They start discounting, they start slashing prices. And that does even more harm to your brand, because now they know about you. And now what they love about you is how cheap you are. And you've devalued your products and your services. And it can spiral out of control, because now you get into price wars with other companies in the same spot, where who can do it a little bit cheaper. And you've really commoditized your products and your services. That is not the way to go. What you want is a compelling, unique reason for your customers to really resonate with you. And there's several different ways you can do that. We're gonna talk a little bit about that more. The other way that indifference shows up, though, is internally. You can have employees who are completely indifferent towards your company. If you're a medium-sized company and you've got maybe 50 employees, and people that come to work each day don't love their job, but they don't hate their job, it's just a job, well, they're indifferent. And again, that's a terrible place to be in, because if you don't have people passionate about what they do each day, how are they going to create a great customer experience? How are they going to help you get your vision to the next level? If they're not passionate and they're just putting the time in, again, indifference is your big killer there. So what I want to go over next is, well, what are these 4 different levels of connection that your employees and your customers can have with your company? And it looks like this. And I've put them in order of emotion, starting with the strongest negative emotion to the strongest positive emotion. But you'll see they're not necessarily in order of how good is this for your company. I'll tell you what I mean here. So right off the bat, level number 1 is there's a strong negative emotion towards your business. This is obviously not good. People know who you are. They know your brand, they know your products, they know your services, but for whatever reason, you're evoking some sort of strong negative emotion in your customers or in your employees. This is not good. But then the next level, emotion-wise, would be they're indifferent towards you. There's no strong emotion on either side. This is very bad. And this is what we just talked about. Now you've got indifference. There's no compelling reason. They don't even know about you. You just blend in. You're just another option out there, either to work at or to buy from. The next level, emotion-wise, is they love how you, your products, your services, your brand makes them feel. And this is really good, right? This is you're starting to, something is compelling there. But I like to think of this, if you compare it to relationships, it's a bit of a selfish form of love. I like the way that person makes me feel. I'm in love with them. Really, you're in love with the feeling you get from being around them. Maybe it's an attraction. Maybe it's some new exciting thing going on. So that's not bad if your customers or your employees feel that way about your company, but it is a bit of a selfish form of love. I love what it feels like to work here. I love what it feels like to buy that new sweater and put it on. There is another level. And the next level, what you see there, number 4, is they love what your business stands for. This is probably the best place you could be in with either your customers or your employees. I love that brand. I love what they do. I love why they do what they do, right? And if you compare that back to relationships again, it's not, I love how this person makes me feel. It's, I love that person. I love who they are. I love what they're about. I love their character, their behavior. It's a very different level. So what you've got here is these 4 different levels of connection or engagement with both your customers and your employees. Where a lot of companies find themselves at one point in their journey or another is number 2. For whatever reason, you just blend in. There's so many options out there. There's no compelling reason for customers or employees to really resonate with you. They're indifferent. So the challenge is, how do we get to level 3 or 4? How do we get some sort of connection with our customers, some connection with our employees, and really become something that is standing out from our competition, is different, it's unique, it's compelling? And that's what we want to dive into a little more today. So there you go. That's in order of emotion. But the worst one is number 2 there, indifference. Worst place any company could be in. So let's look at 4 different ways that you can zero in on your customers. I'm gonna take employees out of the equation right now. We're really more dealing with customers from this point on. How do you do this? How do you zero in on your customers? So I'm going to go through really quickly, high level, 4 different typical ways that you can get to better understand who your customers are, why they do what they do, and how do we design our products, our services, or an experience that's going to resonate with them. So the first 2 ways, number 1 is market research. Now, typically this is reserved for larger organizations because it can be expensive, it can be time consuming, but there is all kinds of big data out there now. We can see what's going on. What are the trends? What are these different age groups? What are these demographics? What do they like? What do they don't like? When do they buy? What do they buy? What you don't get is the why. It's still open for interpretation. So even though there's a big movement towards big data and data scientists and mining a lot of data, there's still, some work to be done for what does this really mean? And what does this mean for tomorrow? We're looking at data that has happened in the past. You still have to interpret it and then have a strategy for, well, what does this mean and what does this mean for our business? Large organizations that can spend quite a bit of money and have people dedicated to this can get really good at it. And we see that, but not everybody has that ability. So where I typically work with smaller organizations is in number 2. And this is a process called jobs to be done. If you're not familiar with it, check out the book Competing Against Luck by Clayton Christensen. This is really where jobs to be done was introduced. And he goes into the backstory of it's a whole different mindset and looking at your customers, and the traditional way in the past of understanding customers and their behavior or getting their feedback was to just outright ask them, what would make our product better? And he used to run a consulting company, and he used to do that. In fact, his company was hired by McDonald's to figure out how to make their milkshakes better and sell more milkshakes. And this is how they started. They would interview customers as they're coming out of McDonald's and, hey, you bought that milkshake. What would make it even better? Does it need to be tastier? Does it need to be thicker? Does it need to be creamier? And after doing that for hours and hours and days, they really didn't have any conclusive information about what is going to work for this. And we've heard this before. There's a famous quote by Henry Ford that says, if I asked my customers what they wanted, they would have told me I need a faster horse. So just asking customers, what do you want? What do you need? What would improve? Is really not the best way to go about this. There is a better way, and it's called jobs to be done. And there's techniques here that really can be used when you're interviewing your customers to have a better understanding of what was your mindset, what was the thought process, what was the journey you went through when you landed on this product or service? What was the job you initially needed to get done? And then how did you start that investigation into solving that job or getting that job done? And then how did you land on our company? And then why did you choose our company? And when you're starting to collect that information about what was the job you were hiring our product or service to do for you, you're now getting down to the real meat of who are these customers and what are they really trying to accomplish. And I do have a link here. You'll see on my website, I have a template section. There's 2 templates on there if you're interested in jobs to be done. These are free, by the way. You just download them. They're PDFs. You don't have to put in your email or anything. But there's 2 templates on there that you might find really helpful. One is a jobs to be done sample interview. What does it look like to actually interview your customers and get in their mindset and help figure out what was the job they were hiring our product or service to do for them? And the other template is called a jobs to be done template. And this is where you take that information and you start actually writing out what are the jobs that people are hiring our product or service to do for them. And if you get good at this, and it does take time and it takes a bit of repetition, completely different way of looking at your customers and your solutions for your customers. It's going to change how you market. It's going to change why you even do what you do and who you do it for and how you deliver that message. And companies that do this well have kind of reinvented, you know, they still have the same product at the end of the day, but how they structure their company, how they market their products and services completely changes once they better understand what are the real jobs people are hiring our product or service to do for them. So those are the first 2. Next 2, this one I've advised many smaller companies, many entrepreneurs that don't have the time, don't have the money, don't have the resources to do market research or jobs to be done interviews. Very powerful. Become a customer. What does it feel like to actually be a customer of your own company? Go through that. I've done this with chiropractors. I've done this with dentists, physiotherapists. What does it feel like to actually book an appointment with your own company? What does it feel like to sit in your own waiting room? Is it good? Is it bad? What frustrates you? What are you feeling at the time? Well, that's what your customers are feeling. So again, it takes a little bit of experience. It takes some open-mindedness. It takes a certain mindset to be able to do this well. Or if you can't be a customer of your own company, be very cognizant when you're being a customer of your competitor. What does it feel like to, go through their ticketing system? What does it feel like when you're in their pre-sales? What does it feel like when you're getting customer service from them? Any way that you can become a customer and put yourself in their shoes is huge. And then Ingrid, in a short time, will show you, well, now, what do you do with that information and how do you kind of structure your messaging and your business around that? And that is number 4. Number 4 is you work with somebody like Ingrid, a business storyboard coach, who is going to ask you the right questions. And I don't know about you, but I'm a consultant. And when I'm working with other businesses, it's so much easier for me. I know how to look at their business from an external view. I know how to ask the right questions. I know how to see things that they wouldn't normally see, because for your own business, you're so in it. You have this tunnel vision of, but this is our product, but this is our service. This is what it can do. It's very hard sometimes to take a step back and see things from the customer's point of view. I have a very hard time doing it with my own company, with Zero In. Very easy for me to advise other companies on what to do with their company. As soon as it's time to do something with mine, it's a whole different ballgame. So you bring somebody external, and what Ingrid does really well is we'll actually storyboard and draw this out right in front of you. So it's not ask a bunch of questions and I'll get back to you a week later. It's as you're talking, you're seeing your business unfold from the customer's view right in front of you. And that's actually what we're going to be demonstrating for you here in just a few short minutes. But where I want to leave you before I hand things over to Ingrid and we dive into number 4 so you can really see what that looks like, is I mentioned off the top, yes, customer centricity and customer experience is one of the things that I work with businesses on. Extremely important that you better have a better understanding of your customers and you design the ultimate experience for them. But I believe that's only half of the equation. And the other half is innovation. Now, innovation doesn't have to equal technology. Innovation doesn't have to equal big new things that you're doing. It just means having a mindset of finding new and better ways to add value for your customers. So I work with a lot of companies on, well, how do we create that culture of innovation within your company? And there's different principles, 5 or 6 principles that I like to instill with different companies. We're not going to dive into that too much today because we're more on customer centricity. But what I want to kind of show you quickly is, why does customer centricity and innovation have to go together? So really quickly, I'm going to go over what I call the Magic Quadrant of CCI. And CCI stands for customer-centric innovation, or in terms of a company, you are a customer-centric and innovative company. And here's what it looks like. So here we've got a graph where you've got 2 axes. On the horizontal axis, we're measuring how customer-centric is a company. So when we're talking about this, you can look at it in terms of your own company or some other well-known companies out there. Where would they land? The other axis is how innovative is a company. So on the bottom, very low on the innovation scale. They don't invest in principles and best practices to find new and better ways of doing things. Low on the innovation scale would look like, this is how we do it around here. This is our recipe. This is how we've always done it. We don't change. Highly innovative would be, hey, we're always looking for new and better ways. We encourage new ideas. We invest in good principles and best practices for innovation. Customer-centric, low end of the scale would be, we don't invest in understanding our customers. We don't invest in designing the best customer experience. We don't do jobs without interviews. We don't look at data. We don't understand who our most valuable customers are. We don't calculate customer lifetime value. Very low on the customer centricity scale. We're probably more inward focused. We're just looking at our products and our services and how can they get better without a lot of customer input. High on the customer centricity scale would be the exact opposite of that. We invest in all these things. We want to know who our customers are, why they do what they do, and what makes them tick. So now you've got these 4 different quadrants. If you look at the top left, I call this the IFSI quadrant. Very high on the innovation scale, very innovative company, very low on the customer-centric scale. They do not invest in knowing who their customers are. So if their innovative ideas are not sparked from understanding their customers, if they're not meant for adding more value for their customers, if they're not rooted in who are our customers and what do they need, what are they innovating? Typically, it's shiny new object syndrome. It's hey, we think this is cool. Hey, we think this is neat, and we're good at innovating and getting it quickly. But it's not a recipe for success. You might get lucky. You might get something that hits in the short term. Think of fidget spinners, right? They were popular for about 6 months, but nobody's out there buying another fidget spinner today. That's not a recipe for success, right? Innovation for the sake of innovation, it's that shiny new object syndrome. The exact opposite of that would be the bottom right-hand corner. So highly customer-centric, low on the innovation scale. Unfortunately, a lot of companies land here. We know our customers, we know them by name, we give great customer service. That's why I call this the CS quadrant, but we're not innovative. We have our product, we have our service, this is how we do it, right? And there's a lot of training and there's a lot of, this is how you do your job, you do X, you do Y, you do Z, repeat, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, this is what you do. And people get very comfortable and people get very complacent and they get very change averse because that's how I do my job. But what happens when a disruptor comes along? What happens if a new competitor comes into your space that does it better or differently, right? Think of Blockbuster versus Netflix. You can't compete. In fact, you don't even have a culture that wants to compete. They just want to do what they do every day, 9 to 5. So a very dangerous place to be in because it might give you success for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years if you're not in a very competitive space. But as soon as a disruptor comes along, a pandemic, an economic downturn, right? A competitor, your company just can't react. So that's the CS quadrant, highly customer-centric, low innovation. Where you want to be is that top right-hand quadrant. And if you think of any of the companies that have been at the top of their game for decades, you'll probably see they are an extremely good example of being both customer-centric and innovative. They invest in wanting to know who their customers are and what they do and why they do it. And they invest in piloting new things, testing new things, encouraging new ideas, right? You think of Apple, you think of Tesla, you think of McDonald's, you think of Google. These companies are highly customer-centric and highly innovative. That's what I go into in a lot more substance in the book, The Zero In Formula, and how I help companies do that. So stay tuned to the end. Yeah, we are giving a free giveaway. There might be a bit of a hint there as to what it might be. Oh, and oh yeah, what about the bottom left-hand quadrant? I call this the FB quadrant because you're neither customer-centric nor innovative. You're flying blind, right? And this is where a lot of startups start off. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to try something. I want to do something. I think it's going to be cool to be a CEO of my own company, but I don't invest in new ideas. I don't invest in understanding my customers. And what we see is a lot of these companies never make it past year 1, 2, or 3, right? So the FB could also stand for flat broke because you didn't really start with the right mindset, the right foundation for your company. So that's what the Zero In Formula goes into a lot more detail around is, well, how do you do that? How do you get your company into that quadrant of CCI? And you'll see on the Zero In website, there's even a free assessment tool for you to help you self-assess your own company. Again, it's free. You answer 25 questions and it's going to give you a score. How customer-centric and innovative is your company today? And that'll at least give you a starting point. How do we get into that CCI quadrant? So I'm going to turn things over to Ingrid now, and she is going to take us through how do you zero in on your customers through brand storyboarding and make them the hero of your story.
Thank you, Dennis. Can you go back to the slide?
Sure.
To your slide? Because this is actually our common slide where I drew my illustrations on your slides. And I want to self-diagnose. I'm definitely on the upper half of the image here. I think I'm creative and innovative, and I have to really watch out to not do something just because it's fun and because it's new and because it's shiny, and to do something that is actually useful for my customers.
Mm-hmm.
And
so tempting.
Yeah. And I really try to listen and to get feedback and to tweak my process so it's as useful as possible. I have never thought about it in this terms, so it's interesting to see this quadrant here. So thank you for that. Mm-hmm. So now you can go to the next. This is my little diagram about how a business messaging, or the business in general, it's not only the messaging, should be aligned. And that is on the horizontal axis is the product or service that should work. So this is the skill axis or something like that. And there also should be a human connection that we as the business owners have empathy with our customers, especially in the communication, in the messaging. And there are actually 3 states of a customer. The neutral one, where they are not really a customer because they are not in pain. And here where they have the overlap with a problem, with an enemy. I mean, you can already hear that it's hero's journey language here. Mm-hmm. And on the right side, it's the dream, the customer's dream, while he's in the pit, enmeshed in the problem, he's dreaming of paradise. And these are the pictures we have to paint in our messaging. So really understand in which frame of mind they are buying is probably not this one, because they're happy and don't need anything. And yeah, that all of this has to be aligned. And before, yes, this is the old website way. The company is the hero. We talk about ourselves. This was my old website when I was showing off my portfolio. This is me and this is what I do. I offer 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if you have a problem that corresponds with one of my services, you're welcome to buy. This was the messaging on my old website.
And a very common thing that we see with a lot of companies, right?
Yeah.
Let's promote us and our product.
Yeah, because that's, and it was very difficult. I hated to write about myself. I didn't know what to say. I mean, I'm a graphic designer. I do websites. What else can I say?
Mm-hmm.
Very boring story. And yeah, this is the new one. It's influenced, or the idea for it comes from actually from Donald Miller, Story Brand, and also there are also others, but he's the one who made this concept really popular. Make the customer the hero and talk to them and take them through a story. And here we have the classical hero's journey. There's a problem that we're fighting. The hero is in pain and he has to overcome struggles. And you are the pilot, Donald Miller calls them the guide, who has a product or a service that works and that he knows how to operate, has a plan, and can transport you into paradise.
Mm-hmm. What a difference if you're looking at a website. If I put myself from the customer's point of view and I go back to this one, I land on a website and a lot of them look like this. Oh, here's a company, they've got an about section that talks about them. And here's a bunch of their products or services.
Yeah.
It's very hard for me to try and slot myself into, do I need that product? What problem is that product solving? And then you go ahead to this one and it's like, oh yeah, instead of the about section being about the company, it's about me. Hey, you're a business owner and you've run into this issue. Yeah, that's me. Hey, you've worked really hard on your business and you've gotten to this point. Yeah, that sounds like me. Here's my problem. Here's my pain. Boy, this sounds like the solution I need. Right? Very different view when you land on those two different websites.
Yeah. It requires to focus more, to decide who you're serving, because you can't talk to the general public and say, I'm solving all of your problems. So you have to be specific and be focused.
Yeah.
And that's why it can be a little difficult. But if you nail it, then there's this is your audience of one, an audience of one, and the problems correlate, and therefore I'm listening, of course, to this. And this is how a storyboard looks when I draw it out in real life. We have circumstances, the exterior problems, the feelings, then also some beliefs and underlying problems, and we solve them with our service. And this is also a thing, it works, this kind of messaging works much better if you have one product or one service and not all kinds of stuff. So it's focusing on one customer group and one service, at least in the beginning. I mean, later, but also Coca-Cola and Nike and all of those, they also have one product. Of course, they have a million products. But if I think Coke, then I see one product. Or Simon Sinek, start with Y. I mean, it's one thing. If I think Dennis Geelen, I think zero in on your customers.
There you go.
If it's more or less the book that we have written that I haven't written yet. Yeah.
Excellent.
So this is what I'm doing. And
so we need a volunteer now.
We need a volunteer.
Ingrid will storyboard making your hero the customer your business, either your current business, a new business idea, a problem you're solving. We are going to see firsthand, right in front of us, what this looks like. So between Chris, Dan, Suzanne, anybody want to volunteer to have Ingrid work her magic with you and your situation?
Dan and Chris have disappeared somehow. They're hiding.
Nope.
Oh, there we go.
Not hiding.
No.
Anyone feel lucky and want to volunteer today?
I can volunteer.
Okay, Kristen will be. So I'm going to stop sharing, and Ingrid, I'll let you share your screen because you're going to draw right for us.
Yes.
Your conversation with Chris.
So this is your canvas, empty canvas for you. Wait a second.
Okay.
I will ask some questions. You have a complicated name. Where are you?
Yeah, I'm Chris. I mean, I wouldn't ask you to pronounce my name because, except people that have had practice plus some alcohol, no one can really pronounce it.
Yeah, thanks for not putting us on the spot, Chris. I appreciate that.
Is it Polish or what?
It's Polish name, yeah.
Yeah. And you're in Poland?
No, I'm in UK actually.
Oh, I see. And what are we drawing? What is your? Do you have a business or what is your?
My business is currently going through a big transformation. I was in event industry. I was branding consultant for a company called PokerStars. I was organizing their live events. So it's about 12 to 13 events in a year between, well, around Europe, and one of them was in the Bahamas. Eventually, I stepped away from, I mean, I didn't step away from events. Pandemic pushed me off events. And within a year, I had to figure out what I'm going to do. And well, what I've done was me and my team, we've combined the skills that we've got, and project management is one of my skills. And we just thought, okay, well, which industry has the job? Which industry have we contacts in? And we have stepped into properties and property renovation. And at the moment, we're actually building ourselves up in properties.
Property renovation?
Yes.
This is repairing houses and stuff like that?
Yes, repairing houses, basically doing everything that involves houses. I mean, I'm qualified electrician. We've got plumber. We've got, well, my brother is, he does plaster finish. All of us can do painting. I had to get trained in that one. External repairs, drainage, guttering. All of us have had to be able to fix that, but that's general DIY, and then that's something these skills I've gained a long time ago before I became an electrician, so that was useful. Any skills that I can transfer from event industry, like vinyl laying, there are various artworks on people's walls, because they want to have being innovative. We wanted to offer people something from event industry, so having a large format graphic on their wall, having them personalized. So, for example, having a kid drawing digitized. As a graphic designer, you know that Illustrator can trace image. You can digitize that image and you can have it vinyl on the wall. Something else that I'm approaching, and that's where Dennis said, when you're talking about someone else's property or someone else's business, you know what needs to be done. But when you're going inwards, you think, yes, I have this list of jobs, but whether I get to them in time, that is another matter. I would like to be sustainable and recycle large format pallets and have them into wall murals with lasered artwork or routed artwork. I've got a facility, I've got a company that I used to do stuff when I was in events, and I want to work with this company because it's a really good relationship. I want to invite them into properties.
Mm-hmm.
So that's me, more or less.
Mm-hmm. From event, that's interesting, to property, to is there another word, a more common word than property renovation? How would people call it?
I mean, we can put building industry, general building.
Yeah, but you're not building, you're renovating.
Well, yes, we're renovating.
So what you're doing is you bring glamour into something profane. You're merging two things, the event industry, or you bring your skills from event industry into property renovation, and by that you're transferring glamour.
Yes.
Or lifestyle.
Yes.
Or happiness.
Yes, that is also a very good way of putting it.
Show element or something like that. I don't know. I mean, we would have to dive a little more into that, but that's what sets you apart from the normal other house painters and electricians. Am I getting that right?
Yes, I mean you've got the feeling of what I wanted to say. In events, when the contractor was when the client was showing up on their stand, we were there to make sure that this stand is their best tool to gain leads, to advertise their company on that particular.
Okay.
In regards to habits, what we're doing is we want our customers to have the best feelings with regards to living in that property, because some customers, they have just purchased the property and they want us to stay there for like a week or two. That we've had the case of that in London. We stayed in the property for 2 weeks. The two sisters were visiting. We were showing them a list of various things that we have discovered. Some things were not shown in the initial survey, but we were then addressing those problems. And at the end of the day, we wanted those girls to have the best experience of the house. And then after a week, I stayed in contact with them. After a week, I came back because there was a few other things that they've spotted as well, and they wanted us to fix and then make better. At the end of the day, they were very happy that we've been there, and they're now happy to live in their new home.
Yeah. Okay. So, and are you able to communicate what you're doing, or where are you at in your business? Are you communicating this part or this glamour event thing part already when you're advertising your business, or are you just?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. So what kind of customers do you have, or do you want? Let's say, what do you want? It must be some who are not the run-of-the-mill house owners, right?
The best customers will be new house owners.
Yeah.
New homeowners, yeah.
Who have a certain lifestyle, or who want a certain lifestyle, who have a certain level of aesthetics.
Yes.
Okay, and now let's think about, yeah. So she has a good taste, basically.
Yes.
Or at least the same taste as you. No, but let's call it good taste. Sorry.
Good taste, yeah.
I think it sounds very interesting. So she must be disillusioned with the people with the other renovators that she had talked with before, right? because they were too boring.
That could be the case. I mean, what I found in the building industry, that people kind of do what they asked, what they're being asked to do, but there is, from at least what I've seen, there is not much innovation. There is the building industry is not really customer centered. I've seen, I've heard from customers that they've had really bad experience with builders. In fact, my friend is just doing extension, and she was afraid that her contractor is going to be out of business. It's a quite big project. She has paid about something like 150,000 for the extension and relevant work, and she's having stress. I've actually visited her today because I wanted, she wants me to take over at some point. Well, within a month, she wants me to take over and then just do a snagging list, because the house is built, it's just not ready to live in.
And why is, and she wants you to take it over because you're more stable, or because you have this event? I mean, ideally, let's talk the direction that you want to take your business in. Maybe this person has just hired you because she has more confidence in you, or trust. But
where I would like to take our business in, there was a concept which I have advertised just at one show, was bringing art to life. I've worked with two friends which are artists, and I wanted to, and I have started converting their drawing to digitize the artworks, and I was doing some renders and I was posting them. Eventually, what I'd like to do is bring some level of art into property and have it not just as framed pictures purchased somewhere in a famous place, but I would love to be to create some personalized artworks and have them implemented on the walls, on ceilings, floors, windows. For example, kitchen cupboards, if they're just plain, they, from my perspective, sometimes they can be boring. But if you have artwork being put on either lasered or vinyl on your kitchen cupboards, they look much more interesting. There is some life being put into that living space.
Okay, so we have her, and she is desperate, or she has this new house, and now she's supposed, this here is a what do you call it, samples or swatches from whatever tiles, a catalog.
Yes.
A standard catalog from one of your competitors.
Yes.
And she wants something special. I don't, no, fantasy, no, yeah. So her outer problem is the exterior. That she can either hire an artist herself who doesn't have the technical know-how, and or she can hire you and she gets everything from one hand, and the technical stuff and the artistic stuff and everything is
yes.
Sorry.
No, I'm because I've experienced both examples. I've experienced with clients with the artistic soul. They wanted to contact various suppliers directly, and they wanted me just to apply various artworks. And eventually, I mean, I can do it all. But eventually, what we've established, that if I was doing it if I was organizing it myself, for example, with even simple slogan, vinyl slogan on the wall, if I'm doing it, I'm going to do all the layout on the computer. But if she was ordering something online, the company that was supplying it was squeezing it on the smallest piece of material, because it's cost cutting. But then I have to spend an hour to lay it all on the floor, tape it all up, make sure it's all level and in line, and then I'm applying it. If I was doing it on the computer, it takes me, I don't know, 15 minutes. Then it's being slapped on a piece of paper, and it takes me 5 minutes to slap it on the wall, apply it, and it's job done. So once clients work with me, they have a high level of understanding of how things can be achieved. And once they have this level of understanding, I don't mind whether they go and source their artwork through me, or they have something that they fancy, but then they can use my knowledge and have a request with the right specification of the final product.
Yeah, but try to identify her problem, the situation she's standing here. So this here is the exterior problem. We have that already. And she is feeling, how is she feeling? Not understood, or
yes,
lost in the boredom, or in what do you call that? Mediocrity.
Yes.
And they're probably also afraid of doing something wrong, or of getting stuff that doesn't work.
Yes.
And then we also have a philosophical problem, and that is something like house owners with good taste. And this might be a good title for your website. But this good taste is not quite quite it. Like, it's more like individual, or something like that. Yeah, house owners deserve a, yeah, and then I would like to get the a special lifestyle. We don't really have time to get into it, but you have to talk to this person here, who is who tries to get something special and feel safe at the same time. And then you have to talk to, she imagines how it would be, and then you paint the picture how she imagines how it should be. So you can talk about where you're coming from, but only to like the event industry and stuff, but only to the extent that is interesting to the person who is sitting here with the boring swatches. So you don't have to talk a lot more about it. And so she imagines, now let's take her over, oops, and make her happy. So she imagines to stand in a kitchen and show it to her guests or something like that. And now we're drawing the kitchen cupboards here, and there's this wonderful artwork. And here is also something that is matching my dream home. So this is a kitchen. Isn't it a dream? Or it's all mine, or something like that. It's exactly like I imagined.
Yeah.
Because you do this custom.
Yes.
Yeah, the semantics or the terminology is important, right? Because if you say, we give you custom kitchens, you're focused on your product or service. But if you say, wow, you've got your dream home, that's based on them, right? So this is the main difference here. How do you make the customer the hero rather than your product, your solution, your service the hero? And it's unfortunate we didn't have even more time to let Ingrid dive into this, but I think you can all see where this is going. And I think, Ingrid, normally when you do this with a company, it's at least 3 hours to really walk through all the different templates and get this sketched out, correct?
Yeah. Well, first we have at least 1 hour, then we have 3 hours workshop. But the thing is, then you can make a website out of it. So it's not just for fun. So this here is the aspirational identity that comes here. Your dream kitchen exactly as you imagined it, and only for you. And it's an experience, not an experience, an event. I would take some words from the event industry. Make your kitchen an event. Something like that.
But that's where you as the pilot is important, because you have this event planning background, and this is what makes you unique and different, not better, unique and different from your competition. People want something unique and different, not necessarily better. Anybody can claim to be better.
Yeah. So you say, do you want this?
Love it.
And then you say, but are you in this situation now? And then you paint a picture of this here. And then you say, I can help you because I have this, which is your service.
Very unique set of skills and backgrounds and service that you bring to the table.
You can trust me because I'm like this, and I'm an electrician too. And then also testimonials. And then you have this whole journey here on your website.
And just imagine a new homeowner in that exact position lands on your website. Instantly, it's going to resonate with them. This is me. This is my situation. This is my problem. Oh, this is why whereas if the website was designed custom kitchens, here's what we do, here's a bunch of information about us, doesn't necessarily resonate. They might decide to go with you, but they're probably going to shop around on price. They're probably going to, whereas when you have your message, when you have it all built around your customer, instantly resonates, and they start to get right into level 3 or 4 of, boy, I love what these people can do for me, and I love what they're about, and I love how they're unique. You've jumped right past those first couple levels of, I don't like you, or I'm indifferent to you. It's, you resonate with me.
But of course, you have to find out if this person actually exists. You have to do your research.
There has to be a market. Yes, that's true.
And then I'm all for finding the right package for this here. Give it a name, the event makeover. That's not a good name. First, we assess and measure or do a psychological assessment or whatever you do, or you find that taste. That's the planning. Then we do the next step, and then we do the next step. And then you give that a name, and you could even do a neat little thing and take this here, the planning stage out of it. And I think that's what I would do. Take the planning stage out of it and sell it separately for $100 or pounds or 200 or 500.
Separate service, yeah.
Yeah, a lead product.
Yeah.
So you give them ideas what to do with their kitchen, and then they can buy it, and then they can hire you, or they can do it themselves, or they can do it in 5 years or so. And this is how you can brand yourself as a very special renovator.
Well, we're pretty much up against time, but hopefully, Chris, your mind is going off with all kinds of different ideas on where you can take your business and how you can continue to make your customer the hero on your website and your messaging and your offering, what that really looks like, and then how do we get even more unique or innovative and do things that our competition wouldn't even think of doing. So a real quick sample there. It's too bad, Ingrid didn't have at least another 15-20 minutes. You could really see some of her magic.
Was it helpful so far? Did you get something new from it?
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent.
Great.
So
customers' emotions are key. I
Yes.
understand it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and like Ingrid said, she's just scratching the surface here on what this could look like to really dive into your brand story. But yeah, definitely you can see her unique background of graphic design and business strategy together to create a brand storyboard, and understanding how to put your customer at the center of that is really the way to go. So we did mention off the top, stick around to the end. So you're all here. So we will give you a glimpse now of, well, why were you sticking around to the end? So I'm going to share my screen again and just go over what were those free giveaways we had hinted at. So as a token of our appreciation, you will be receiving an email. It'll come out from Ingrid, everybody that registered today. In that email, there's going to be a link to a free PDF version of the zero-in formula. So if you want to go in even deeper into those 4 quadrants, how do you create a company that's more customer-centric and innovative, that'll be now free in your hands, a PDF version. There's also a link there for, it's $100 off the zero-in formula course. So because the book was so widely accepted and hit #1 bestseller in different companies or countries, I had lots of people reaching out saying, how do we get more? Maybe we can't work with you, or it doesn't work out with COVID, blah, blah, blah. So I put together an online video course. It dives into the book even deeper. There's over 50 videos where I dive into all these different concepts. There's 8 different global experts that I brought in, Ingrid being one of them, that are inside the course as well, giving you different perspectives and other tools. There's templates, there's lessons, there's examples from other companies, but the course normally sells for $297 Canadian. So when you download the book, it'll immediately tell you, hey, you can also get the course for $100 off if you're interested. So thank you for attending, and that's a token of my appreciation that you'll receive from me. And then Ingrid?
Yeah, you can either book a taster session. I will send out the link with the email. I also have a course coming up, but I haven't marketed much, and that is the Superpower Summer course. I share my screen. Oops, can you go out?
I'll stop by sharing. Yeah.
I want to show my stuff. Here.
There you go.
Online course for solopreneurs who are ready to focus. Find your thing, create your signature service, stand out and be seen. And this is instead of doing a lot of stuff, doing one thing. And here is the imagery that you already know. And I focus on finding the one thing that is yours. So in Chris' example, it would be I think it's a strategy session that would be the signature piece of his service. And yeah, this is the website. And I will send out a code. Normally it's $800, and there's 2 sessions with me in it. And I'm only doing it because you're so nice and because it's summer and summer is slow.
Excellent. So thanks again, everybody, for attending today. Hopefully y'all got some value out of this. I know we just scratched the surface on a lot of things, but we only had 60 minutes, and we wanted to try and jam as much value in there as possible. But hopefully with the extra add-ons that you'll receive, you can dive deeper into any of the stuff that you saw today. So thank you, Suzanne, Dan.
Also send out a template where you can do your own storyboard.
Perfect. Hands-on. Thank you, Chris, for being in the hot seat. Last time we did this as well, I'm thinking, boy, the person that volunteers and Ingrid, boy, you're both in the hot seat as we all watch. But it's amazing every time she does it. So thanks, Chris, for volunteering.
You're welcome.
All right, have a great rest of your day or evening, depending on where you are in the world. And thanks again, Ingrid. Always great to do a workshop together.
Yes, it's fun. Okay.
All right. Bye, everyone.